Now, in this some of these factors here, right? So we will discuss about surface area and concentration in this video. All right, changing the surface area of the reactants. So what we notice here is that on the diagram left side, right? So this is a very large chip, and these are smaller chips, but they have a larger surface area. What I mean by that is, in here, the the H plus ions. Let's say they are the H plus ions, and in the middle we have the carbonate CO3 minus ions, right? So they will be attacking only the outer portions that they can actually. So the middle parts will not be easily reacted here. But if you break it down into smaller size particles, all of these can be reacted. Okay, meaning that there's so much surface areas for H plus ions to attack. So what we also notice here from the graph is that the original marble chips, as on the left side, is going to be very horizontal, meaning that the rate of reaction is very small. But if we're using smaller chips, which has a larger surface area, the reaction would be much faster, okay, with a steeper slope. All right. So the explanation, which you should be able to explain on yourself, is that the smaller solid means that the surface area contact between the solid, okay, and the liquid or gas particles is much larger, and that is why the frequency of successful collisions will increase. And if you are asked to explain on how do the graphs show this, you can say that the curve of the gradient of the slope is much steeper, and you can also say it in numerical form, such as, let's try to put it here. Let's say this is 10, this will be lesser, around, let's say 7, right? So you can also say that by using a smaller chip or larger surface area, we're going to produce 10 centimeter cube or 10 gram of carbon dioxide in a much shorter amount of time. So surface area is very important in one application called catalytic converter. So this is mainly used in car exhaust pipes. So without catalytic converters, the gas that is going to be emitted from your car is going to be very dangerous, such as carbon monoxide or nitrogen oxide gases, okay, which is harmful to the environment and to yourself as well. But with the catalytic converter, these gases will undergo complete combustion, okay, which they will be produced as carbon dioxide or reduced to nitrogen, and which we call complete combustion. And this is relatively much safer compared to oxides of nitrogen and carbon monoxide, meaning that the reaction is very slow to happen without catalytic converters, okay? But then when the reaction is much faster, because we're using a large surface area catalytic converter, they will undergo complete combustion. So some of the catalytic converters, the materials that we use, you should remember it, is platinum, palladium, or rhodium, okay? They are used to convert carbon monoxide and nitrogen oxide to harmless carbon dioxide and nitrogen oxide. And this is very important in the gas exhaust system because the gases are in contact with the exhaust for only a very short amount of time. The next one we should learn about is changing the concentration of reactants. Okay, so what we notice here is that when we reduce the concentration of the acid, it will make the reaction much slower. For example, the blue line here, right? We're using about 2 moles per tm cube of hydrochloric acid. But in the red line here, we're using around 1 mole per tm cube, meaning that when we reduce our concentration, the reaction will be much slower. Why is it that? It's because in HCl, right, there will be H plus ions. So the amount of H plus ions within a fixed volume will decrease. So although we're talking about the change in concentration, our volume will be still the same at, let's say, 25 centimeter cube, and that is what is meant by a fixed volume. So the number of acid particles will be decreasing, meaning that the particles are collide less frequently per second. Okay, so it's important to mention both time and the frequency here. So less successful collision between the marble chips and the acids per second mean that the reaction rate will be much slower. Okay, so in a reverse way, we can also say that increasing, okay, instead of reducing, increasing the concentration of the acid is going to make the reaction much faster. So let's just say instead of 2 moles to 1 mole, right? If we use a higher concentration, it means that we will have more acid particles. So the number of acid particles within a fixed volume will increase, and it will say that the particles will collide more frequently per second, and more successful collisions means that the reaction will be much faster. Okay, so to summarize for the surface area and concentration, you only need to remember two very important factors here. First thing is, when you increase the surface area, large surface area will increase the contact area between solid and liquid particles, which will increase the frequency of successful collisions, and it will increase the rate of a reaction. For concentration, when you increase, so when you increase the concentration, okay, of acid, the acid particles will be increased in a fixed volume, which is going to increase frequency of successful collision and the rate of reaction. So in exams, when they are asked to explain about, when you're asked to explain about how does increasing surface area or how does increasing concentration increases the rate of reaction, you should answer one of these to get 1 mark, and these two facts in order to score 2 points, so that you will most often be given 3 points on these type of questions. So in the next video, we will discuss about temperature, pressure, and about catalysts.